Hello, everyone, and welcome to Science and Sleep, a place where every breath, every slumber of the animal world holds magical secrets. Tonight, we will dive deep into the strange world of animal sleep. From birds dozing on high branches, creatures surfing through dreams, to those that almost never close their eyes. Each method of sleeping is a survival strategy, a testament to the sophisticated adaptations that nature has painstakingly created. Before we begin, I want to know where you're watching from. If you enjoy science stories that are both fascinating and relaxing like this, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the surprising discoveries in upcoming videos. Your support is the motivation that keeps these journeys into mystery lively and colorful. When we close our eyes and enter sleep, it may seem as if the body is completely powered down, but in reality, inside is a delicate, rhythmic dance of the brain and body. Not only humans, but almost every animal experiences these cycles in their own way, creating a diverse and strange world of sleep that few have the chance to observe. Sleep is not merely a time for rest, it is a vibrant and complex state where every cell, every heartbeat, every neural impulse participates in restoration, memory consolidation, and the reorganization of the creature's inner world. At a basic level, sleep is divided into two main types: rapid eye movement, REM sleep, and non-rapid eye movement, non-REM sleep. Non-REM is a slow, relaxed state where the body cools down, the heart beats steadily, breathing deepens, and brain waves spread evenly like gentle waves on a beach. This is the time when the body begins to recover. Muscles are repaired, tissues regenerated, the immune system boosted, and the brain starts removing biochemical waste. In contrast, REM is a time of intense neural activity, where eyes move beneath the eyelids, heart rate and breathing become variable, and most voluntary muscles are paralyzed in a state called atonia, protecting the body from acting out dreams. It is during this phase that the brain produces vivid dreams, processes information, consolidates memories, and regulates emotions. But when observing animals, we notice that sleep is far from uniform. A cat may enter REM just minutes after closing its eyes, while a giraffe or whale may take hours to go through a similar cycle. Some marine mammals can even sleep with one hemisphere of the brain while the other remains awake, a mechanism that allows them to rest while still swimming or breathing at the surface. These differences demonstrate that sleep is a finely tuned process, adjusted according to each species' survival needs and living environment. Circadian rhythms are the core factor controlling these cycles. In humans, the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, located right above the junction of the optic nerves, functions as an internal clock, synchronizing the body's activity with light and darkness. As light fades, the pineal gland secretes melatonin, signaling the body to prepare for rest. When morning light appears, melatonin levels drop, promoting wakefulness. In animals, circadian rhythms operate in similar or modified ways depending on the species' activity patterns, nocturnal, seasonal, or in short daily activity phases. Other environmental cues, such as tidal rhythms, temperature, or changes in light, also contribute to shaping each species' biological schedule, ensuring they sleep at the right time, rest efficiently, and maintain energy. The brain's mechanisms during each stage are equally astonishing. Non-REM, especially slow-wave sleep, is a time of synchronization and restoration. Neurons fire in slow, spreading patterns like rhythmic waves crashing on the shore, allowing the brain to reorganize information, remove waste, and consolidate long-term memory. REM, on the other hand, is an explosion, chaotic but purposeful. Neural activity accelerates, brain temperature rises, emotion and memory related regions light up, and the brain forms vivid sequences of experience. This is why we often have illogical, strange, yet emotionally rich dreams. What makes the world of animal sleep even more fascinating is its endless diversity. Some birds experience REM for only a few seconds, appearing as a fleeting blink, while some reptiles display sleep states similar to REM, challenging the assumption that dreaming occurs only in mammals and birds. Octopuses, with their ability to change color and skin patterns while asleep, seem to undergo their own version of REM, with complex, colorful twitches, demonstrating nature's creativity in evolving sleep across species with entirely different brain structures. From humans to marine animals, from cats and dogs to birds and octopuses, the common thread is that sleep is never still. Whether it is the slow waves of non-REM or the neural energy bursts of REM, the brain is constantly at work, organizing memories, consolidating learning, repairing cells, regulating emotions, and sometimes generating extraordinary dreams. Sleep is a complex symphony where every rhythm, every electrical signal, hormone, and biological mechanism harmonizes to sustain life, energy, and intellect. And it is precisely this diversity that prevents us from viewing sleep solely through the human lens. Each species has its own strategies for survival. Some sleep deeply but briefly, some lightly but for long periods, and some even sleep with one hemisphere awake while the other rests. All serve a common purpose: survival, adaptation, and maximizing energy in a constantly changing world. Sleep is not a passive state, it is a biological journey where each creature experiences its inner and outer worlds in unique, strange, and marvelous ways. But sleep is not only a quiet, restorative process, it is also a sophisticated journey of the mind, a stage where neurons replay daytime experiences and rehearse survival skills. In laboratory experiments, mice trained to run through a maze show that during sleep, their brains precisely replay the paths they traversed. It seems the brain does not rest completely but silently rehearses, reinforcing the neural connections necessary for memory, like a musician quietly practicing the melodies learned during the day. Not only mice, but birds also demonstrate similar abilities. Songbirds practice melodies during the day, and while sleeping, their brain waves follow specific cycles, fine tuning their songs and consolidating survival skills in the natural environment. When sleep is lacking, learning slows, and memory becomes unreliable, a phenomenon common not only in mammals but also in birds and even some reptiles. Sleep is also a time for the body to heal itself. Non-REM sleep, especially in the deep phase, is when growth hormones are released, repairing muscles and damaged tissues, while the immune system boosts the production of proteins that fight infection and inflammation. Recently, scientists discovered that the brain has a special cleaning crew, the glymphatic system. This network of channels helps remove waste accumulated during wakefulness, including proteins linked to Alzheimer's disease. During deep sleep, this system works more vigorously, proving that sleep is not just rest, but also a time for cleaning and protecting the brain from the risks of toxic accumulation. However, in nature, sleep is always a balance between benefits and risks. The predator avoidance theory suggests that the timing, depth, and duration of animal sleep are adjusted according to survival needs. Predators can sleep longer and more deeply because they face less risk of being attacked, while herbivores such as deer, horses, and some primates often take short naps spread throughout the day and night to maintain the ability to respond quickly to danger. Lions, when food and safety are sufficient, can sleep more than 20 hours a day, maximizing the benefits of restoration and energy conservation. Astonishingly, sleep does not necessarily require a complex brain. Some jellyfish, for example the upside-down jellyfish Cassiopeia, display signs of sleep-like states. At night, their bell-shaped bodies vibrate less and respond more slowly to environmental stimuli. When awakened during rest, they become sluggish and less responsive the following day. This demonstrates that even species without a brain require recovery time, suggesting that sleep is an ancient behavior that appeared in the earliest creatures during evolution, aimed at synchronizing activity with environmental cycles. Over hundreds of millions of years, as nervous systems became more complex, sleep evolved into multi-stage cycles with non-REM and REM phases, as seen in mammals, birds, and even octopuses. Sleep does not serve a single purpose. It is a combination of multiple functions: conserving energy, consolidating learning and memory, restoring the body, boosting immunity, and minimizing risks. It is an essential rhythm, flowing with the currents of life, from the simplest organisms to species with complex neural structures. But one evolutionary innovation is particularly astonishing. Slow-wave unihemispheric sleep, or half-brain sleep, occurs in dolphins, whales, seals, and even some birds. Unlike humans, these species cannot become fully unconscious while still needing to maintain basic life functions. Dolphins, for example, must breathe voluntarily. If the entire brain sleeps, they could sink or miss surfacing to breathe. The perfect evolutionary solution. One hemisphere rests while the other remains awake, controlling breathing, environmental awareness, and safe swimming. The eye corresponding to the awake hemisphere remains open, monitoring surroundings, while the eye connected to the resting hemisphere closes. After a period, the hemispheres switch, ensuring each side rests without the body ever losing vigilance. Migratory birds use a similar strategy. Species like the large frigate bird can fly for weeks without landing, sleeping in short bursts of slow-wave unihemispheric sleep, just a few seconds at a time, enough for the brain to rest while maintaining balance and environmental awareness. On land, many birds roost in flocks, with edge individuals keeping one eye open to watch for danger, while those in the middle close their eyes completely. This is a sophisticated vigilance system integrated directly into their neural mechanism, a vivid example of how evolution optimizes sleep according to survival needs. The unihemispheric sleep system is an excellent example of convergent evolution. Many species in different environments, air, water, or coastal areas, have developed the same solution to balance rest and alertness. Dolphins, whales, seals, and migratory birds, despite differing habitats, face the same pressure: how to let the brain rest while keeping the body safe. Even fur seals adapt flexibly. Underwater, they sleep unihemispherically, but on land, they can enjoy two-hemisphere sleep as usual. For humans, the concept of half-brain sleep is strange. We can only dream of keeping part of the brain awake while sleeping. But in nature, this is a perfect strategy, turning rest into a carefully balanced process between vulnerability and vigilance, between restoration and survival. In the vast ocean or high blue sky, one half of the brain drifts in slow waves, while the other keeps the body, senses, and journey going. Sleep, from ancient jellyfish to birds flying for weeks over the ocean, is living proof that rest does not always mean absolute stillness. It is a set of strategies meticulously designed through evolution, ensuring survival, learning, and growth, a complex symphony in which every creature participates, each species in its own marvelous and efficient way. Under the vast sky, where there is nowhere to land and the ocean stretches endlessly, the short naps of animals are not merely temporary solutions, but also evidence of survival intelligence refined over millions of years of evolution. Frigate birds, with bodies as light as gliding wings, do not stop to land. Instead, each brief moment when one hemisphere of the brain sinks into slow-wave sleep is a chance for the brain to recover while maintaining vigilance. Their wings still glide with the air currents, eyes open toward the awake hemisphere, observing the environment and conspecifics, noting obstacles and adjusting flight paths. Even just a few fleeting seconds are enough to sustain vitality over flights of thousands of kilometers, demonstrating that sleep does not always need to be long to be effective. Meanwhile, in the ocean, seals and sea lions exhibit an extremely flexible sleep mechanism. While floating on the water, they can take short, alternating naps, half awake and half asleep, eyes open to monitor their surroundings, while the body maintains muscle tone to breathe and swim gently. On land, the same animal can sink into deep, quiet sleep, no longer needing to remain vigilant. This shift not only reflects remarkable adaptability, but also demonstrates a fundamental principle of sleep. It is a survival tool, a mechanism flexibly adjusted according to vigilance needs and the surrounding environment. These brief moments of sleep, seemingly fragile, are a miracle of biological efficiency. Even if only a few seconds pass, EEG patterns show that the resting hemisphere undergoes synchronized slow-wave cycles, restoring energy and strengthening essential neural connections. Meanwhile, the awake hemisphere controls vital functions and environmental awareness, keeping the body operational in potentially dangerous situations. Thus, short sleep becomes a form of strategic rest, balancing physiological needs with environmental risks, turning each moment of rest into an opportunity for recovery without missing any critical warning signals. Not limited to marine animals and migratory birds, the world of dreams extends to creatures with rich inner behaviors. In mammals such as dogs, cats, or mice, REM sleep opens an inner theater where daytime experiences are replayed, motor skills silently rehearsed, and memories consolidated. EEG recordings show that mice running through a maze precisely replay the same neural sequences during sleep, as if the brain is rehearsing for the challenges of the next day. Pigeons and sparrows exhibit similar phenomena. During brief REM episodes, they accurately recreate song patterns, fine-tuning melodies without producing sound. Even reptiles, such as Australian dragons, display two alternating sleep states, one of which resembles REM, emphasizing that dreaming is not an invention exclusive to mammals. Even in the ocean, cephalopods like octopuses and cuttlefish undergo active sleep stages, during which skin patterns change in complex sequences. These color changes may reflect inner imagery, representing hunting behavior or interactions with the environment in ways only they perceive. Remarkably, the appearance of dreams or REM-like states across diverse branches of life suggests that this is an ancient evolutionary strategy, providing clear benefits for survival and adaptability. For predators, dreams may serve as rehearsal grounds for hunting skills. For prey, they are practice for vigilance and escape reflexes. At the same time, sleep consolidates memories, removes less important information, and supports other critical cognitive functions. From migratory birds in the air, seals in the sea, mice in mazes, to octopuses on the seabed, all demonstrate that sleep is a sophisticated continuous process, both restorative and training, integrating body and mind. Short sleep, brief REM, or unihemispheric sleep all reflect a common principle. Rest does not need to be continuous or long to be effective. For birds flying for weeks, seals floating in the ocean, or dolphins and whales maintaining continuous breathing, brief moments of rest are sufficient to sustain energy, enhance memory, and maintain high awareness, becoming decisive factors for survival. These fragmented, intermittent sleeps also emphasize flexible adaptation. Survival is not a static state, but a continuous process where each moment, however brief, is vital. In the animal world, sleep is a work of art, precise, efficient, and multifunctional. It is not merely a time for rest, but also a tool for optimizing body and mind. Seemingly tiny moments, a second of REM in a bird, a few minutes of floating for a seal, or a flicker of brainwaves in a mouse, reflect a philosophy of survival. Every second is precious, every moment necessary. Sleep is not a passive state, but a sophisticated evolutionary strategy, a continuous journey of body and mind, illustrating the persistence and creativity of nature. In short naps, fleeting REM, scattered rests, we see a world far richer than the eye can perceive, a subtle combination of rest, restoration, learning, and vigilance. From the sky to the deep sea, from forests to deserts, sleep is a survival behavior, an optimal strategy, and a testament to nature's evolutionary intelligence. Only by observing these small moments can we truly understand that sleep is not idleness. It is a delicate motion where rest and awareness merge, allowing creatures to exist, grow, and progress along life's journey. Under the vast sky and the deep ocean, the unusual resting methods of animals reveal a subtle lesson about survival. Sleep does not always need to be long, but sometimes only brief moments, just enough to sustain life, learn, and adapt. Giraffes, with eyes always open to observe their surroundings, seem to challenge every law of sleep. Each time they bend their legs to the ground or tilt their necks back to rest their heads on their hips, it is not comfort but a survival strategy, optimizing the balance between rest and vigilance. In the wide open savannas where predators lurk, giraffes cannot afford to miss a single moment without facing danger. This minimalist approach to sleep allows them to survive, each brief moment an opportunity for the brain to recover, ready to react to threats. African elephants share this approach, although their enormous body size and slow metabolism give them more flexibility. Only about 2 hours of rest per day, sometimes even less, mostly while standing and rarely lying down, demonstrate that energy is optimized for recovery. When traveling hundreds of kilometers during migrations, they cannot slow down, yet must remain alert while protecting the young from predators. Here, sleep is not a quiet resting period like in humans, but a series of short, alternating rests, both efficient and safe. In the sky, migratory birds are masterful artists of brief sleep. Large frigate birds can glide for weeks without landing, thanks to unihemispheric sleep. One hemisphere rests while the other remains vigilant. When both hemispheres rest simultaneously for a few seconds, the body continues to glide, wings maintain position, and eyes remain open to monitor the environment. With these ultra-short sleeps, birds maintain high flight performance, avoiding exhaustion and disorientation. Some other species even reduce both REM and non-REM sleep, compensating when they reach a safe location. The ability to temporarily reduce sleep without noticeable harm is rare, demonstrating remarkable adaptation to harsh environments. Back in the ocean, dolphins are a vivid example of strategic sleep. As voluntary breathers, they cannot become fully unconscious and must maintain breathing. The solution is unihemispheric slow wave sleep. One hemisphere rests deeply, while the other stays alert to control the body and monitor the surroundings. Dolphin calves, needing to breathe more frequently, are even more skillful in combining slow swimming with sleep, always near their mothers for protection and guidance. Dolphin sleep is not absolute silence, but a delicate symphony where body rhythms harmonize with brain waves. Frigate birds, dolphins, sharks, and many other species have developed similar mechanisms to maintain sleep while the body moves. Large great white sharks, for instance, cannot stop swimming because water must continuously flow through the gills for oxygen. They reduce overall brain activity, but basic motor circuits keep the body swimming in straight or gentle arcing paths. Here, brain and body coordinate precisely. The resting hemisphere is supported by spinal reflexes and autonomic neural circuits, ensuring survival safety. Even strange sleeping postures on land demonstrate nature's survival intelligence. Flamingos, sleeping on one leg with the other tucked into the body, seem to defy all physical laws, but their joints can lock, maintaining balance without much effort. This posture may help regulate body temperature, reduce heat loss through the leg when standing in cold water for long periods, and allow the bird to remain alert to the environment. Alternating legs also reduces fatigue, showing a smart resting strategy evolved over millions of years. All these examples reflect a fundamental principle. Sleep is not always absolute stillness or long duration. It is a flexible journey, combining rest with vigilance, learning with survival, recovery with activity. Giraffes, elephants, migratory birds, dolphins, sharks, and flamingos all have found ways to align physiological rhythms with environmental needs, creating a rich and diverse picture of sleep. In smooth movements through the air, underwater, or across the savanna, there is a continuous rhythm. Part of the body moves while part of the brain rests. This allows animals to survive in harsh environments while maintaining maximum performance. Sleep is not surrender to fatigue, but a strategic tool, a clever journey between alertness and recovery. These creatures, in every brief moment, teach us that rest does not always need to be long, but must be efficient, flexible, and suited to the environment. It is this adaptability that has created an animal world where sleep becomes an art of survival. Every second, every rhythm, every movement is precisely adjusted to protect life. From giraffes on the vast savanna to frigate birds gliding over the ocean, from dolphins swimming silently under moonlight to flamingos balancing on one leg, all demonstrate that rest is not an empty period, but a finely arranged portion of living energy, just enough for body and mind to remain alert, ready, and vibrant. Under the dim moonlight and the bright light of day, the animal world continues to reveal resting strategies that astonish humans. From unusual sleeping postures to finely tuned metabolic states, each species seems to write its own survival rule, perfectly adapted to the environment it inhabits. These strategies are not merely tricks to conserve energy, but are sophisticated biological solutions, reflecting millions of years of evolution and nature's ingenuity in balancing rest, survival, and the ability to respond instantly. Regarding unusual sleeping postures, bats and sloths are vivid examples. Bats hang upside down from cave ceilings, seemingly suspended in space, but in reality, this is a perfect physiological optimization. Their body structure allows natural weight to stretch tendons, causing their claws to lock onto surfaces, keeping the body suspended without muscular effort. Even in death, this mechanism persists until an external force disrupts the balance. This strategy both conceals them from predators and positions them near a launch point for flight when needed, while taking advantage of places that almost no other animals can access. Sloths, meanwhile, also employ the hanging technique, contracting muscles and tendons to hold their bodies on branches for hours, conserving energy while reducing detection risk. Their stillness and camouflage make survival efficient, whereas for humans, such a posture would quickly become exhausting and uncomfortable. These postures are not limited to mammals. Owls and many other birds tuck their necks, bury their heads in feathers or wings, protecting the head and beak from heat loss and injury. Their legs and feet have tendon-locking mechanisms similar to bats, allowing them to stand firmly on branches without expending energy. Observing a flamingo balanced on one leg, an owl hiding its head among leaves, or a parrot curled up in a coral reef, it becomes clear that the sleep of these species is not passive rest, but a survival journey, where body, gravity, and environment blend beautifully. Beyond posture, some species utilize extreme metabolic states to survive harsh conditions. Hibernation and torpor are two typical strategies. Hibernation is a state of greatly reduced metabolism, lowered body temperature, slowed heart and respiratory rates, allowing animals to survive for weeks or months without food. Ground squirrels, exemplary hibernators, lower their body temperature near freezing, with heartbeats dropping to just a few dozen per minute and respiration nearly imperceptible. They only occasionally awaken to adjust posture, urinate, or consume stored food. Meanwhile, bears in hibernation do not fully shut down. Body temperature drops slightly, heart rate slows, but they remain capable of reacting to sudden threats. This is a prime example of a delicate balance between energy conservation and rapid response, a survival strategy optimized through evolution. Torpor, a short hibernation state, is used by many species during short periods or at night to reduce energy expenditure. Hummingbirds, with extraordinary metabolic rates, must feed continuously during the day. At night, if food is unavailable, torpor allows them to lower body temperature and slow metabolism, conserving energy until morning. For these tiny birds, survival may depend entirely on the ability to temporarily reduce metabolic rate. Even larger animals, like sloths or small mammals, use torpor to endure periods of drought or food scarcity, showing how sleep adaptation to survival needs can be diverse and flexible. Water, sky, and vegetation also present special challenges. Fish and amphibians lack eyelids, so they cannot close their eyes while resting. Instead, they enter a state of reduced activity, lightly moving fins to maintain balance and respond to their surroundings. Parrotfish, to avoid parasites and predators, secrete a mucus layer around their bodies while resting. Large great white sharks must swim continuously to ensure water flows through their gills, but they can reduce brain activity and maintain basic motor circuits to survive while conserving energy. Frogs and toads may sleep underwater, on the water's surface, or on land, depending on temperature and environmental conditions. Thus, resting does not always equate to absolute stillness. It is an adaptive, flexible state, calculated to optimize energy and protect survival. All these strategies reflect a fundamental philosophy of nature. Sleep is not merely a pause in time, but a survival tool, a series of complex mechanisms finely tuned to conserve energy while maintaining responsiveness and the ability to survive. A bat hanging from a cave ceiling, a warm-necked owl, a tiny hummingbird entering torpor, or a fish drifting with the current all demonstrate that sleep can be extremely flexible, adapted to the needs and conditions of life. It is not sleep in the human sense, but a delicate journey, combining vigilance, energy conservation, and physical recovery, a clear testament to the intelligence and extraordinary adaptability of nature. Beneath the quiet surfaces of lagoons, rivers, and coral reefs, the animal world seems to move to a rhythm entirely different from the bustling surface observed by humans. This rhythm is a subtle combination of rest, rapid response, and energy conservation, where each species has developed unique strategies to adapt to its environment. Aquatic frogs often choose bottom layers or areas with vegetation as shelter, occasionally surfacing to breathe. Slow movements, reduced heart rates, and prolonged immobility help them conserve maximum energy while remaining ready to react to threats. Salamanders, another amphibian species, employ similar strategies, lying still under rocks or logs, barely moving unless necessary. Sensitivity to seasons and temperature causes many amphibians to enter deeper hibernation when conditions become harsh, creating a seasonal rest that conserves energy while ensuring survival. For aquatic reptiles, resting strategies are finely tuned in their own way. Freshwater turtles can lower heart rates, slow metabolism, and absorb oxygen through the throat lining or cloaca, sufficient to sustain life for long periods underwater. Sea turtles, meanwhile, find crevices, coral reefs, or rocky ledges to sleep, sometimes for hours without surfacing. Crocodiles, though fierce and alert, still have moments of immobility on the water, eyes and nostrils above the surface to have bodies nearly submerged in light sleep, allowing them to conserve energy while remaining ready to respond to threats. The choice of location, still or flowing water, deep or shallow, is determined by a delicate balance between energy expenditure and safety. Calm waters with weak currents allow animals to remain immobile longer with minimal energy use, whereas strong currents force them to continuously adjust swimming rhythm or position, a prime example of biological adaptation. Small fish and sharks also demonstrate sophistication in sleep management. Fish in open water or reef areas may drift with currents, keeping their bodies immobile while conserving energy, yet still maintaining sufficient responsiveness. Some sharks, relying on continuous water flow through their gills, cannot stop swimming completely. Instead, they reduce alertness, swim slowly and steadily, maintaining minimal oxygen intake. Thus, underwater sleep is never completely motionless. It always involves rhythmic control between body recovery and environmental vigilance. Even simple organisms like the upside-down jellyfish, Cassiopeia, demonstrate that sleep does not necessarily require a centralized brain. Suspended like flowers on the lagoon floor, the jellyfish moves slowly to circulate water, nourish symbiotic algae, and maintain minimal physiological functions. At night, its pulsation slows, responsiveness to stimuli decreases, yet this state can reverse immediately when conditions change. Thus, the Cassiopeia body integrates three key elements: reduced activity, elevated response thresholds, and rapid recovery ability. Despite lacking a central brain, the jellyfish's diffuse neural network subtly coordinates heartbeat and movement, like a conductor guiding multiple local musicians in synchrony, showing that sleep is a fundamental bodily need, preceding even the evolution of a centralized nervous system. These strategies, from amphibians, fish, and reptiles to jellyfish, reveal a consistent biological logic. Sleep is controlled inactivity combined with heightened stimulus thresholds and recovery capability. Across all species, regardless of brain complexity, this basic principle persists. Organisms use sleep not only for rest, but also to optimize energy, regulate internal functions, and protect themselves from predators or adverse conditions. Even in the simplest species, sleep is a mechanism for energy management and biological rhythm adjustment according to the environment, like an automatic factory switching on and off in response to cycles of light and nutrients. Interestingly, these resting behaviors are always accompanied by environmental adaptation. In warm waters, dissolved oxygen is lower, requiring shorter rest periods, while cold waters allow longer rests. Currents, coral reefs, rock crevices, and vegetation all become biological tools to conserve energy, protect the body, and optimize survival. Each species' resting strategy is not merely a habit, but an essential part of the ecological network, reflecting the combination of physical, chemical, and biological factors. Observing a scene like a still Cassiopeia among ferns under dim light, a turtle sleeping in a coral crevice, or fish drifting with the current gives a sense of tranquility, yet it is actually a complex series of physiological adjustments balancing rest, vigilance, and energy conservation. The quiet rhythm, whether simple or intricate, is evidence of a survival strategy tested over millions of years of evolution. It reminds us that sleep, whether complex or simple, is always a subtle integration of physiological mechanisms and environment, a vivid testament to nature's intelligence in ensuring the survival of species. Beneath the dim light of dawn or the deep shadows of night, the world of insects and small creatures reveals a picture of sleep that is both subtle and biologically calculated. If Cassiopeia, the simple jellyfish, demonstrates that sleep does not require a centralized brain, then insects follow a similar logic, but with more complex rhythms and adjustments suited to social life or specific survival tasks. Sleep here is not a random state. It is a mechanism evolved over millions of years to ensure energy optimization, memory consolidation, and maintenance of responsiveness. Insects have no pillows or blankets, no closed eyelids or deep breathing, yet their bodies generate visual cues indicating a state of rest. Antennae drooping, legs relaxed, heart rate reduced, and sensory responsiveness diminished. Even in social species like honeybees or ants, sleep is organized in a dispersed manner, allowing the colony to maintain continuous activity while still ensuring each individual rests according to its own needs. Consider a honeybee at night. In a quiet corner of the hive, legs relaxed, antennae drooped, body soft, eyes open, but posture signaling an elevated response threshold. Only if disturbed, shaken, touched, or exposed to light does the bee awaken. Its sleep is not merely a moment of rest. It is the body repaying a sleep debt, restoring energy responsiveness, fine-tuning neural connections, and stabilizing memory maps necessary for navigation the next day. The bee's experiences with the environment, from polarized light in the sky, the location of plant roots, to colors and scents, are stored and organized in the mushroom bodies, the neural centers integrating spatial, color, and olfactory information. When deprived of sleep, the bee's waggle dances become disorganized, incorrect angles, inconsistent durations, and reduced quality of information. A full night of rest immediately restores accuracy, reinforces the internal compass, and turns the previous day's experience into a reliable guide for the entire colony. Similarly, the fruit fly, a silent hero of neuroscience research, demonstrates that even a tiny brain follows the fundamental principles of sleep. In narrow glass tubes using infrared sensors, researchers observe fruit flies when they do not break the beam for 5 minutes. These are moments of sleep. Continuous awakening or disturbance reduces their ability to learn, remember odors, navigate, and interact socially. Conversely, adequate sleep enhances these abilities, consolidates synaptic connections, smooths the neural network, and ensures the fruit flies can learn, recall, and perform complex behaviors necessary for survival. Sleep in fruit flies has structure with day and night cycles regulated by temperature, light, and internal signals, including genes and ion channels affecting arousal thresholds. These observations remind us that sleep is essential for maintaining an efficient nervous system, even in species without a cerebral cortex. Expanding to social species, resting mechanisms become even more sophisticated. In a honeybee colony, the hive is never completely silent. Young worker bees take short, scattered rests near the hive, while older workers and drones select darker, cooler spots or sleep outdoors. Each individual has its own schedule, interspersed, yet ensuring the colony maintains continuous activity. Ants follow a similar pattern. Worker ants rest intermittently in shifts without emptying the nest or interrupting brood care. The resting individuals allow the superorganism to continue functioning, creating a complex yet efficient rhythm where rest and activity intertwine. Small behaviors such as drooping antennae, relaxed legs, or hanging from a branch conserve energy, reduce unnecessary stimulation, and still maintain the ability to respond quickly to the environment. Astonishingly, these principles, controlled reduction of activity, elevated response thresholds, and recovery capacity, appear across jellyfish, insects, ants, bees, and vertebrates alike. Even when brain structures are undeveloped, diffuse neural networks or mushroom bodies perform similar functions, coordinating rest periods, consolidating connections, and ensuring responsiveness. This principle also illustrates that sleep is an ancient survival strategy, a patient rhythm that nature discovered and preserved over millions of years of evolution. Light, temperature, and subtle circadian rhythms form a vivid picture of insect sleep. Molecular clocks in most cells regulate schedules, light resets circadian rhythms, and signals from small groups of neurons guide coordinated tissue activity. Sleep deprivation or disrupted rest directly impacts survival. Bees perform poor dances, fruit flies learn poorly, and ant colonies must constantly repair mistakes. Sleep, whether in a large brain or a small network, is not optional. It is a controlled, efficient, and highly sophisticated biological need. Finally, every small detail in resting posture tells a story of function. Drooping antenna, relaxed legs, curling in the nest, or hanging from a branch all reduce energy expenditure, protect the body, and keep the nervous system ready to respond. Sleep in insects is a testament to biological intelligence. Even in a tiny body without a cerebral cortex, intricate coordination appears, emphasizing that sleep is a fundamental principle of survival, existing since the first neural networks evolved, and remains key to learning, memory, and environmental adaptation. In that silent rhythm, we realize that sleep is not merely a state of rest. It is the foundation for intelligent, resilient, and enduring life. Beneath the thin mist of a summer night, the tiny world of animals and insects reveals a picture of sleep that is both subtle and full of survival strategy. Each creature, from a bee sleeping on a cluster of wildflowers to an owl tucking its head in a tree hollow, seeks to balance the need for body and brain recovery with the surrounding risks. Safe spaces, shelter, and the presence of conspecifics determine the depth of sleep. A bee clinging to a branch with its mandibles, dew settled on its fur, antennae drooped, and legs relaxed, is in an almost motionless state. Meanwhile, deep inside the hive, foragers scattered among the comb cells, eyes open but bodies soft. These tiny moments of rest are when the body and brain consolidate, fine tune neural connections, and prepare for a challenging day ahead. Insect sleep is not idle or random. It is a sophisticated strategy. It improves orientation, location memory, and communication with conspecifics. A sleeping bee dances more accurately. A well-rested fruit fly learns faster. A pausing ant minimizes errors while navigating a pheromone maze. When thousands of individuals undergo this cycle of rest together, the resonance effect ensures survival and efficiency for the entire society. In the world of vertebrates, sleep becomes more complex but still follows the basic principles: safety, recovery, and vigilance. Lions sleep within safe territory, stomachs full, immersed in slow wave cycles and dream-filled REM sleep. Bats hang in dark caves, locking their leg joints, optimizing energy and minimizing predator risk. Rodents and small mammals hide underground where temperature and safety are ensured, enjoying deep sleep phases with high arousal thresholds. Even in species with larger brains, safety is not just a feeling, but shapes sleep structure. Owls tucking their heads in tree hollows sleep deeper and more continuously, while prey species must keep senses alert, sleeping briefly and lightly, ready to react to any threat. For species living on grasslands or open spaces, rest strategies become extremely sophisticated. Horses, deer, and antelopes must balance rest with vigilance. Horses sleep standing, locking legs, and remaining alert for short intervals. Deer curl their legs, heads held high, ears rotating like radar. Antelopes and zebras sleep scattered, sharing vigilance with group members so that each individual can detect danger promptly. The African savanna witnesses the brief naps of giraffes. Despite their size, they rest only a few minutes a day but remain continuously alert. Similarly, birds, from small sparrows to coastal ducks, employ the unihemispheric sleep strategy. The hemisphere facing outward remains awake while the inner hemisphere rests, synchronized among flock members to minimize risk. Ducks and geese rotate positions within the group where outer members stay alert and inner members rest more deeply, turning the flock into a natural security system where sleep becomes a survival tool. Marine animals also display similar strategies adjusted to their habitats. Mother dolphins and calves, in the first weeks after birth, move almost continuously, resting only partially and occasionally employing unihemispheric sleep to maintain orientation while caring for the young. Sea lions, sharks, or seals in human-populated areas sleep more lightly, while dolphins or whales in open waters enjoy deep, regular sleep. The sleep of these creatures is not passive behavior. It is a complex adjustment combining physiological needs, social position, and environmental risk. Primates are no exception. Chimpanzees choose familiar cliff ledges or sturdy branches for resting, but when moving to a new location, total sleep time decreases and wakefulness increases abruptly until the position becomes familiar. Individuals sleep more deeply when accompanied by reliable companions, showing that safety determines the depth of restorative sleep. Predators and prey, though differing in strategies, participate in a balancing act. Long dreams or light sleep, all aimed at maintaining mental and physical sharpness for the next day. Each sleep episode is a negotiation with danger, adjusted by location, season, landscape, and conspecifics. Even in noisy environments, organisms still sleep thanks to refined evolutionary filters. Male crickets chirp at night, producing frequency pulses to attract mates while still distinguishing real threats from background noise. Familiar background sounds become the soundtrack of sleep, while unexpected signals can awaken the body in time. Thus, the brain, whether large or small, simultaneously handles two tasks: restoration and vigilance. Sleep in animals, from insects to primates, is not idleness but a flexible survival tool. It is adjusted according to safety, habitat, social context, and physiological needs. When conditions are favorable, sleep is deep, continuous, maximizing body repair, memory consolidation, and preparation for the next day's behaviors. When danger is present, sleep shortens, becomes lighter and more scattered, yet still ensures survival. In all cases, the ultimate goal remains unchanged: optimizing responsiveness and health, turning sleep into a sophisticated, beautiful, and highly valuable survival strategy. Under the silver moonlight of a tropical night, the animal world does not sleep in silence. Yet within that chaotic symphony, sleep finds its rhythm. The flickering chirps of crickets, interspersed with the croaks of frogs, the calls of birds tucking their heads in the bushes, and even the footsteps of nocturnal mammals, are not random chaos, but a chorus arranged according to the rules of survival. Each species creates its own sound space, with just enough pauses for the body to recover and the brain to process information, while remaining ready to respond when danger suddenly appears. That rhythm, though complex, is not fictional. It is the result of millions of years of evolution, in which sensory organs, neural circuits, and social behavior coordinate seamlessly to transform sound into a survival signal. Inside the burrow of crickets, each individual adjusts its neural reflexes to avoid getting lost in its own music. Ears and auditory neurons distinguish between the rhythm of their own calls, the calls of conspecifics, and predator alarm signals. Regular repetition turns the calls into a sound wallpaper, a stable background layer that allows them to rest without being startled. Similarly, in wet ponds, frogs coordinate in dense auditory choruses, creating an alternating rest cycle. Between choruses, they pause, ears still alert, and their arousal threshold is subtly elevated. When unusual noises occur, from rushing water to snapping branches, the entire alarm system responds instantly, protecting the group from unexpected threats. Nocturnal mammals are no different. Bat colonies in caves, dense rodent tree hollows, and primates all find ways to filter sound, reducing the intensity of familiar noises, reserving reflexes only for abnormal changes. Small muscles in bat ears contract to limit the impact of their own wing flaps. In rodents, neural circuits adapt to repeated sounds, marking only unusual signals. This specialization allows the entire group to maintain circadian rhythms in a chaotic environment while staying fully vigilant. In this context, sound is no longer the enemy of sleep but becomes a navigational tool, guiding responses when needed and providing safety when everything is stable. In natural shelters, the combination of physical structure and sound creates optimal sleep. Tree hollows, reed beds, or hay piles reduce environmental noise while amplifying alarm vibrations. Birds tucking their heads under wings not only conserve warmth, but also reduce being startled by minor sounds, while seabirds, penguins, and gulls choose locations with stable wave and wind sound frequencies to mask danger signals. The brain assists by adjusting sound processing. Slow wave phases enhance the ability to ignore predictable noise, while sensory gates remain open enough to detect anomalies. Neural circuits can reduce sensitivity to frequent sounds and increase response to novel ones, minimizing energy spent on irrelevant signals and maintaining readiness for dangerous situations. The strategy of sound and sleep also extends to social behavior. Group living species, from desert meerkats to Antarctic penguins, utilize the community to optimize sleep. Meerkats pile into a living blanket in the burrow, with the young in the center surrounded by larger individuals, sharing heat while distributing vigilance. Rustling sounds or scents awaken the outermost individuals, while the central core sleeps undisturbed. Emperor penguins create feather sanctuaries to protect eggs and reduce heat loss during frigid Antarctic nights. The sounds of the group are not only communication, but also a protective layer, signaling to each individual that the world is stable, allowing them to sleep safely. Even during stressful breeding seasons, when the need to call, attract mates, and defend territory conflicts with the need for rest, species find a balance. Crickets, frogs, birds, and mammals adjust their activity and sleep cycles alternately, singing and resting, calling and listening, each brief pause becoming an opportunity for meaningful recovery. When the night air becomes harsh, bodies huddle together, sharing communal warmth while distributing vigilance. No single individual bears the full risk. Sleep becomes a team sport, where proximity, sound exchange, and thermal sharing, along with neural fine-tuning, create an optimal recovery environment. Thus, from insects to birds, from primates to desert and polar animals, nocturnal sleep is not merely an individual behavior, but a multi-layered system, combining sound strategies, neural mechanisms, physical structures, and social cooperation. It is simultaneously a survival tool, a restorative process, and a delicate negotiation with the environment and conspecifics. In the nocturnal soundscape, each individual finds its own rhythm, just enough to sleep, just enough to remain alert, and just enough to prepare for a challenging tomorrow. Sound is no longer the enemy, but the guide, a signal of calm within chaos, enabling thousands of creatures to sleep safely, deeply, and meaningfully. Under the silver moonlit sky of the Antarctic night, colonies of penguins continue their intricate survival dance without any central commander. Each individual, from the weakest chick to the experienced parent, understands its position and role within the group. The arrangement may appear random, but in reality, it is a finely tuned system combining physics, physiology, and social behavior. Penguins lean inward just enough to share warmth without crushing the eggs. Air trapped within their thick feathers forms an insulating cushion, and synchronized breaths distribute heat throughout the colony. The small movements of the group resemble a living conveyor belt. As the birds at the edge move inward, those in the center rotate outward, creating rhythmic waves that propagate through the flock, a dance each individual performs based on local cues rather than any central command. Penguin physiology supports this strategy. Circulation is tightly regulated, keeping blood flow to exposed legs and flippers low, while countercurrent heat exchange mechanisms warm the blood before it returns to the core. During the brief intervals between movement and posture adjustments, penguins can rest, though sleep is not fully deep. It is sufficient to restore energy and maintain necessary vigilance. The noise of neighbors, footsteps, wing vibrations, or familiar calls of conspecifics becomes a safe background, reminding each individual that the environment remains stable. When a strong wind blows, heads rise in unison. When it passes, eyelids droop in every direction and rest continues to flow. While penguins contend with extreme cold, other species similarly adjust safety and warmth through social strategies. Reproductive bats in caves, mines, or hollow trees form dense colonies, taking advantage of stable air and reduced energy costs to stay warm and feed their young. However, damp caves also promote bacterial and parasite growth. To cope, bats split and merge groups, change sleeping locations seasonally, and engage in grooming behaviors to remove mites and insects. Some species even synchronize muscle twitches during torpor, disrupting parasite environments and reestablishing the microclimate within the roost. Managing the trade-off between warmth and infection risk is an art of survival. Penguins and bats adjust colony density, spacing between individuals, and gathering duration to achieve optimal warmth while limiting pathogen transmission. Sick individuals often separate from the center, reducing contact with conspecifics, a sophisticated behavioral immune response. Even simple choices, such as selecting a dry, ventilated site or an area with airflow, help protect health while preserving most thermal benefits. Time plays a decisive role in this system. Penguin groups tend to maintain schedules, using social signals as a natural clock. The first birds appearing at the edge signal dawn to the entire colony, generating waves across the ice. Within minutes, gentle murmurs arise, and flocks of bats appear in predictable order, absorbing warmth from morning light before moving together to forage. This synchronization reduces the risk of isolated individuals encountering predators, while taking advantage of favorable conditions for collective feeding. Collective sleep also manifests on smaller scales. Along coasts, flying birds can divide roles, with half the flock dozing while the other half stands guard, then rotating. In flocks of chicks, movements like raising heads or flicking ears propagate as slow warning signals, allowing others to sink deeper into brief naps, confident that companions will sound the alarm if danger arises. The result is a chain of scattered sleep stitched into a synchronized blanket, sufficient to restore physiology while maintaining safety. Yet sleep is not merely silence. It is a complex interaction between body, environment, and society. In temperate conditions, crowding can cause overheating. Therefore, penguins open small gaps for ventilation, and meerkats shift positions to optimize heat dissipation and warmth. Senior individuals or chicks are prioritized in the warmest central positions, while rotational rules and incremental adjustments ensure every individual benefits from warmth and reduces risk. Gentle nudges replace conflict, maintaining information flow and social signals within the group. Calls, murmurs, and chirps become threads connecting individuals, ensuring cohesion and physiological synchronization. Even scents play a role. Meerkats mark familiar cues in the burrow, stabilizing heart rates, reducing stress, and synchronizing physiological responses across the group. These invisible threads link individuals, transforming a crowded mass of animals into a single living entity, warming, vigilant, and rhythmically restorative. Huddling when cold, spreading out when warm, rotating inward and outward, sharing guard duties, and protecting young, all are executed in a subtle, wordless coordination through feathers, bodies, and social signals. And when severe storms or nocturnal predators pass, these creatures continue to maintain organizational stability, protecting themselves while nurturing the next generation. Sleep, therefore, is no longer a solitary state, but a social, physical, and biological process woven into a complete rhythm pact where each individual rests while participating in a collective network of safety and warmth. It is the combination of social intelligence, physics, and physiology that creates a nocturnal symphony, an invisible layer of protection in which sleep becomes a survival tool, warm, safe, and unattainable for a lone individual to replicate. Under the pale silver moonlight, colonies of seabirds, dolphins, and lions stretch across lands, beaches, and shallow waters, all operating according to their own survival rhythms, but sharing one commonality. Sleep is no longer a passive state, but a series of sophisticated behaviors, adjusted according to daily rhythms, safety needs, and the care of offspring. Small segments of sleep, a few breaths, a few seconds of closed eyes, a tilt of the body, or a turn of the shoulder, form a network of time and space, allowing parents to rest, monitor, and react to threats simultaneously. On the Antarctic ice fields, penguins rotate, each individual moving inward to stay warm, yielding space for others. On African beaches, lionesses move their cubs step by step, dozing intermittently while remaining alert for hyenas or leopards. In the ocean, dolphin mothers and calves swim close together, creating pressure currents that preserve warmth and enhance respiratory efficiency. All are physiological social solutions refined over millions of years, where each sleep rhythm and each bodily movement carries survival significance. In marine mammals, the unilateral brain hemisphere mechanism becomes a survival trick. Dolphin and whale mothers maintain one half of the brain alert to watch for threats from sharks, boats, or environmental hazards, while the other half rests, replenishes energy, and recovers. This rhythm is not always regular. When calves are young, their breathing rhythm depends on the mother. Swimming speed is adjusted by maternal propulsion, and sleep becomes a finely coordinated sequence. Slow wave phases, brief drowsy periods interspersed with moments of vigilance, all create an underlying survival music, a symphony that both mother and calf tune to every beat. When calves mature, thick blubber and independent swimming skills allow mothers to extend deep sleep, restore energy, and prepare for long foraging trips. On land, other parents must adjust similarly, but in completely different environments. Lionesses must allocate sleep and alertness to protect their young from hyenas, leopards, or even males within the pride. A mother lion's sleep is no longer continuous rest, but segmented into short intervals. Eyes close for just a few beats. The head tilts with the wind to monitor scents, ears perk to catch unfamiliar sounds. Even when cubs are stable, sleep remains vigilant. Slight movements, slow breathing, and environmental awareness turn every moment of rest into part of a survival strategy. These intermittent pauses form a continuous chain, restoring energy while protecting offspring. Physiological and behavioral connections in sleep also appear in cephalopods. Octopuses and cuttlefish undergo sleep-like phases but exhibit vivid color changes and skin movements, like rehearsals of neural reflexes. Each pigment cell flash, each muscular contraction of chromatophores serves as a mental and physical test, maintaining coordination, honing hunting reflexes, and protecting the body from danger. The alternating quiet and brief activity periods are not random, but a way these animals ensure their nervous and muscular systems remain ready even while sleeping. Body chemistry also plays a key role in the sleep strategy for caring for offspring. Prolactin and oxytocin levels rise during parental care, helping parents feel less fatigued and strengthening bonding. Stress hormones adjust according to risk levels, sharpening senses while reducing sleep depth. Thus, Sleep is not a sacrificed state, but an optimized process, allowing body and mind to react immediately when necessary. Managing sleep becomes a series of small but sophisticated choices. Lionesses choose complex dens to limit scents and sounds. Seabirds select rocky outcrops with moderate winds and clear views of approach routes. Dolphin mothers choose calm bays with minimal boat traffic. Every fractional minute of rest, every breath, and every bodily movement combine into a survival strategy where sleep and vigilance, warmth and safety are shared and optimized across the group. Small segments of sleep, when accumulated, create extraordinary strength. A dozing seabird mother can still guide her flock. A lioness blinking after a long night hunt can still sprint to protect her cubs. A dolphin mother can adjust her position to ensure the calf breathes properly. Fragmented, delicate, and intermittent sleep does not diminish value. It transforms into another form of vitality. Energy is restored, reflexes maintained, the bond with offspring reinforced, and the group operates rhythmically. In every breath, every vigilant glance, and every tail flick, nature allocates costs gently but precisely. Flocks are not merely social clubs, but survival nets where moments of rest are borrowed from companions, warmth is exchanged, and edge and center positions rotate to optimize benefits. Sleep, therefore, is no longer a loss. It is a form of survival intelligence, shared and restorative, transforming weary bodies into resilient beings ready to face the next storm, the next long swim, or the risky night hunt ahead. Under the soft, dim light of night, the aquatic world becomes quiet, but that stillness does not mean immobility. The sleep of marine creatures, from coral reef fish to cuttlefish and octopuses, is a delicate dance between rest, vigilance, and pigment display. Pigment cells not only reflect light, but also record the internal rhythms of the body. Melatonin rises, reminding the body that night has fallen. Motor circuits, whether intentional or accidental, awaken pale layers of color, blotchy spots, or faint stripes across the body. This behavior is not always for camouflage. Sometimes it is simply a window into a busy brain, organizing data, rehearsing reflexes, or merely humming rhythms that we, observing from afar, can scarcely perceive in full. Coral reef fish, when still in rock crevices or shadowed areas, often transform their vivid patterns into pastel tones, reducing contrast to blend with the environment. Butterfly fish, angelfish, or parrotfish adopt dark nighttime masks and faded bodies, creating a soft but highly sophisticated camouflage layer. Some species secrete a transparent mucus layer, blocking scents and parasites, while also reducing color intensity to avoid detection. Species living in surface waters, unable to hide, float with relaxed fins, minimizing movement to conserve energy. Even without eyelids, they sleep by reducing reflexes, lowering heart rate, and slowing bodily activity. A fully designed state of rest optimized for survival. The biological mechanism behind these nocturnal shades is ancient and energy efficient. Melatonin levels rise as light diminishes, directly or indirectly affecting melanophores, the black pigment cells, causing pigments to aggregate and lighten. Yellow xanthophores and red erythrophores also respond according to their circadian rhythms, creating a delicate color symphony that helps the fish body blend with the dim light of the reef. When danger arises, neural signals quickly override hormonal effects, putting the organism into near instant vigilance. Sleep, therefore, is not a completely off state, but a continuous adjustment between rest and environmental responsiveness. In cephalopods such as octopuses and cuttlefish, pigment expression during sleep becomes even more vivid. Bursts of color on the skin appear as neural drafts, reflecting reflexes and muscular activity being rehearsed during sleep. Scientists call this active sleep, with quiet periods interspersed with sequences of lively movements, like an under-the-skin rehearsal. These displays are not always for camouflage. Sometimes they serve as a record of internal circadian rhythms, a way to fine-tune reflexes and bodily endurance, preparing for hunting and movement the next day. Pigment patterns act as sensors, responding to low light, contrast, or environmental changes, helping the organism maintain appropriate coloration even in darkness. However, external factors can disrupt these delicate rhythms. Artificial light from ports, resorts, or street lamps creates deviations in the natural circadian rhythms of fish and cephalopods. Some species respond by delaying sleep or reducing pigment intensity, while others adapt to new lighting conditions, turning rest into a sequence of short sleep periods interspersed with vigilance. These impacts affect not only pigmentation, but also melatonin, respiration, heart rate, and responsiveness, interrupting the body's true recovery process. Even in nature, the interaction between light, currents, and interspecies relationships is equally sophisticated. Rippling waves create flickering light zones, and fish choose areas where this effect is minimized for rest. Octopuses cling deeply, keeping coloration stable to avoid detection, while other predators can detect contrast or polarized light to adjust their approach. Sleep thus becomes a series of continuous decisions. Resting location, timing, coloration, and response strategies are optimized according to the relationship between body, environment, and surrounding threats. At dawn, melatonin decreases, pigments disperse, and the nocturnal tones fade, restoring the bright, vivid daytime colors. Parrotfish shake off their nighttime veil to reveal turquoise hues, butterfly fish replace their night cover with morning stripes, and cuttlefish create final ripples before beginning foraging activity. The entire reef awakens, daylight filtering through crevices and rocks, simultaneously receiving the new displays of marine life. Yet during the night hours, the water retains its soft, pale, blotchy colors, a tableau both for camouflage and as a reflection of internal circadian rhythms, the colors of sleep, of existence, and of restoration. In the aquatic world, night is not just a time, but a vibrant and sophisticated space. Internal rhythms, physiological reflexes, changing pigmentation, and coordination with the environment transform sleep into an art of survival, from reducing contrast to blend with the reef background to active color displays as neural drafts. Each species finds a way to balance rest and vigilance. Nighttime light, whether natural or artificial, acts as both a disruptor and a catalyst, prompting organisms to adapt, adjust pigmentation, and optimize energy. In every pale layer, blotchy spot, and faint pattern lies a story of survival, learning, and adaptation, a symphony that only the ocean can compose. Under the artificial light and persistent noise of urban environments, the sleep of wild animals becomes more fragile than ever. Birds, bats, frogs, sea turtles, and migratory fish must adjust their circadian rhythms to an ever-changing environment, where natural darkness is no longer a reliable signal. Migratory birds, which once relied on moonlight and constellations for navigation, now have to fly around skyscrapers glowing with lights. The result is higher energy expenditure, more circular flights, occasional misjudgment of distances, and a loss of the subtle vigilance that helps them avoid predators. Extra flight hours at dawn only partially compensate for lost time, while sleep debt accumulated from the previous night remains, affecting alertness and reaction speed. Bats, creatures highly attuned to using sound for navigation, are also affected by urban light and noise. Bright corridors, unshielded lights, or illuminated parking lots become physical and biological barriers, forcing bats to alter their feeding and resting routes. Some species adapt to strong lights, hunting insects around these sources, while light-averse species decline in numbers and energy. Even inside daytime shelters, light leaking through windows or cracks can disrupt sleep, turning quiet nights into sequences of fragmented, vigilance-filled rest. Insects, a crucial food source for many birds and bats, are also severely impacted. Nocturnal moths that once rested under leaves must now circle artificial lights for hours, depleting energy beyond recovery and exposing themselves to predators. Night pollinating species must adjust their behavior, skipping normally pollinated dark flowers and changing which plants set seed, directly affecting reproduction cycles and local ecosystems. All of these changes stem from a seemingly minor factor: artificial light. Amphibians are no exception. Frogs and tadpoles rely on light and darkness to time calls, find mates, and hide from predators. Roadside or residential lights can disrupt this cycle, making mating sporadic, calls sparse, and shortening periods of rest. Tadpoles swim more at night in illuminated ponds, becoming easier targets for fish and water dragons, predators that rely on shadows and movement to locate prey. Salamanders exposed to artificial light pause more often during movement, confusing safe darkness with risky daytime light, turning simple travel into a survival challenge. Sea turtles, which normally navigate using dark skies and moonlight to return to the ocean, also lose their way under artificial lights. Hatchlings head toward boardwalks or lights instead of the sea, while adults may delay or even abandon nesting if the sand is never dark. Continuous light from nearby humans or coastal resorts forces many fish and marine animals to maintain extended vigilance, shortening time for recovery and repair of nests or shelters, making them more vulnerable to predators. Urban noise, from traffic, alarms, airplanes, footsteps, and recreational activity, creates a relentless background layer that wild animals must adapt to. Birds and bats learn to filter predictable sounds while reacting more strongly to unexpected noises. Repeated startles, posture shifts, and brief awakenings accumulate biological costs. Mornings become more tiring, reactions slower, decisions less precise, and energy reserves depleted. During migration or nesting seasons, these costs can mean the difference between survival and death. Adaptive strategies exist, but come at a price. Birds may sleep more during the day, bats may alter feeding hours, and smaller species may retreat to less trafficked areas. However, these alternatives reduce access to optimal food, increase competition with other species, and raise the risk of conflict. Even when recovery is possible, disrupted sleep cycles leave long-term consequences without human intervention. Solutions lie in restoring darkness and quiet to habitats, turning off decorative lights or limiting lighting to specific hours, adjusting light color to warmer tones to reduce blue light, the strongest circadian disruptor, and creating dark corridors connecting shelters and food sources. Using vegetative buffers, environmental management systems, and noise-limiting policies can create safe spaces where wildlife can sleep deeply, recover, and maintain effective survival behaviors. When light and noise are properly managed, pigeons fly straight along migration routes, bats raise healthy offspring, sea turtles nest on schedule, and entire populations become more resilient. Ultimately, protecting animal sleep is not just an ethical issue, but a biological strategy. Adequate, timely sleep allows species to maintain energy, react swiftly, learn and remember migration, hunting, and reproductive routes. It is a core factor ensuring ecosystem stability and resilience in increasingly urbanized environments. By turning off lights and letting darkness return, we not only protect animal sleep, but also preserve circadian rhythms, the delicate relationships among species, and the balance of nature. A humble yet powerful protection, allowing night to truly be a time of rest, recovery, and survival. Beneath the ocean's surface, the sleep of fur seals, octopuses, and other marine creatures unfolds like an intricate play meticulously staged by nature, where every movement, breath, and reflex balances rest and survival. As fur seals drift in the vast waters, their bodies limp. Accelerometers tilt slightly with each rolling motion, and the depth trails gradually flatten. They hover, almost merging with the ocean, yet maintain half awareness, half of their brain active to control breathing and swimming direction. Observing data over several weeks, researchers recognize patterns invisible in a single night. Large waves shorten sleep, calm currents extend rest periods, and deeper silent phases are when seals replenish energy accumulated from consecutive days of hunting. This is not merely rest. The ocean becomes a living laboratory where sleep and environment intertwine in complex rhythms that humans are only beginning to understand. Octopuses and cuttlefish provide other vivid examples of the remarkable sleep abilities of marine animals. In dark observation tanks, high-sensitivity cameras capture their skin at neutral tones during rest, pupils contracting evenly, slight movements reminiscent of fleeting memories being stirred. Then suddenly the skin pulses, ridges appear, colors flare brilliantly, tones shift from pale to dark, then settle back. These seemingly meaningless sequences are actually subtle training of muscles and pigments, serving camouflage, communication, hunting, or hiding in real life. Even when the brain is in REM, a state usually associated with dreaming, the octopus body exhibits its own rhythmic, coordinated music, demonstrating that sleep is not just a pause, but also a process, maintaining and restoring biological response systems. Recording devices measuring brain waves, movement, and position, though small, are designed with minimal intervention in mind. A wildlife tag must be small enough to almost disappear on the animal's body, durable enough to survive storms, and smart enough to collect useful data. For birds, size is a few percent of body mass, and a close-fitting shape is standard, while for marine mammals, hydrodynamics is crucial. These recorders are often released on timers or float to the surface to transmit data, minimizing stress for the host. In laboratories, ethical principles are equally strict. Electrodes are placed under careful anesthesia. Procedures are quick and precise, ensuring physiological and psychological welfare. Aviaries or octopus tanks must replicate natural light and sound so as not to disrupt sleep or natural behavior. Animal sleep is not merely downtime, it is a delicate recovery process where the brain, muscles, and senses coordinate to restore biological balance. When a pigeon sleeps one hemisphere of its brain while the other remains vigilant, it rests while ensuring safety. When a fur seal drifts with half its brain asleep and half controlling breathing and orientation, it conserves energy and survives at sea. Sudden color changes in octopus or cuttlefish during REM sleep indicate sophisticated training of muscles and pigment systems, maintaining hunting and communication abilities without conscious effort. This demonstrates that sleep, though private and fragile, remains an essential part of the life cycle, reflecting evolutionary intelligence. However, sleep is not always smooth. REM behavior disorder, a state in which the body does not paralyze as usual during dreams, can cause dogs, cats, or other species to perform vivid dream behaviors, biting, jumping, or stalking imaginary prey. In nature, such disorders are not fully documented, but researchers suspect age, underlying neurological conditions, or environmental stress may play a role. When sleep is disrupted, natural behaviors such as hunting, migration, or reproduction may be interrupted, resulting in significant biological costs. This is why sleep research increasingly focuses on minimizing disturbances, using cameras, microphones, and lightweight, minimally invasive devices to ensure both scientific data and host welfare. From pigeons perched on branches to fur seals drifting at sea to octopuses in observation tanks, each example conveys the same message. Sleep is a survival skill. It is not merely a pause, but a way for organisms to regulate energy, maintain reflexes, train muscles, and keep sensory systems flexible. When researchers respect circadian rhythms, natural light, and sound, they not only observe, but also protect the species' survival capabilities. Sleep in the wild is an art, delicate, subtle, and requiring a balance between rest and vigilance, between biological needs and environmental risks. Research methods that honor this highlight the synergy between human intelligence and nature's evolutionary wisdom, offering unprecedented insights into an aspect seemingly simple but critically important to life: sleep, the foundation of survival, learning, and adaptation. Beneath the dim light of dusk, the sleep of animals, whether wild or captive, emerges as a mysterious labyrinth where every breath, every movement, and every heartbeat holds its own story of survival, biology, and evolutionary intelligence. Camera traps in forests capture a fox writhing in its den, curled up as if facing a vivid dream. In zoos, meticulous records from caretakers describe animals sleeping deeply, occasionally shivering or kicking, as if chasing an imaginary prey. In marine mammals, the situation becomes even more complex. Unihemispheric sleep in seals, sea lions, or whales allows them to maintain low muscle tone even during normal rest. A single misstep in rhythm can trigger bodily responses, and subtle fluctuations in their sleep behavior gradually become valuable data on how the brain balances rest and vigilance. Birds with one eye or side sleeping habits reveal another layer of mystery. They can exhibit complex movements without ever entering the typical REM paralysis state, prompting biologists to question whether dreams, or at least an internal state of consciousness, exist in all species. But sleep is not always smooth. Insomnia is a common phenomenon, not a single disease, but a collection of issues related to sleep being too short, too shallow, or constantly interrupted. In captivity, causes are often directly bodily. Pain, arthritis, dental disease, or post-surgical discomfort force animals to move continuously, change positions, and wake repeatedly. Itching from parasites, allergies, fleas, or skin infections also causes dogs and cats to scratch constantly, disrupting natural sleep cycles. Psychological causes from thunder, fireworks, to separation anxiety fragment sleep into small segments. In older animals, cognitive disorders, similar to dementia in humans, can invert circadian rhythms, turning night into day, wandering instead of resting, and emitting unusual sounds that affect the surrounding environment. Endocrine factors, digestive disorders, or medication side effects also induce restlessness, insomnia, or shallow sleep, leading to reduced reflexes and learning ability. Wild animals face their own insomnia challenges. Artificial nighttime light interferes with melatonin, shifting circadian rhythms, causing birds, bats, and insects to be active when their bodies need rest. Urban noise scatters into irregular sound waves, disrupting sleep and forcing constant vigilance. Heat waves, droughts, or predation risk interrupt rest cycles, compelling animals to choose many short, light naps instead of a few deep sleeps. Human presence, whether inadvertent or direct, becomes a stimulus. A dog off leash sees a bicycle at dusk, a bird collides with a drone, or parasites disturb sleep. All of these factors increase the biological cost of not sleeping, reducing reflexes, impairing decision making, and delaying learning processes. A dog grumpy after a night disturbed by fireworks may become careless in the park. A cat roaming all night misses play and feeding time, upsetting weight and mood. A bird insufficiently rested may navigate poorly, increasing collision risk and reducing survival chances. However, modern sleep research has provided tools to decode and address these issues without invasiveness or stress to animals. Miniature microscopes, neuropixel probes, paper-thin electrode arrays, and low-light infrared cameras can observe neurons, EEG waves, and pigment responses in octopuses or seals without handling or restricting natural behavior. Functional ultrasound and near-infrared spectroscopy provide information on blood oxygen and flow changes, allowing study of REM and non-REM sleep in natural contexts. Artificial intelligence and machine learning analyze millions of data points, detecting micronaps, unihemispheric sleep, or drifting sleep in seals, linking this data with GPS to create a comprehensive map of when and where species sleep, rather than relying on external observation alone. Wireless technology and ultralight devices, from wireless EEG caps to matchbox-sized motion sensors attached to fur, allow continuous monitoring with minimal impact on natural behavior. Unsupervised learning algorithms filter brain signals, detecting micro-patterns of sleep not fitting traditional categories, suggesting that REM and non-REM are not merely two fixed states, but a flexible network of combined patterns adjusting to environmental conditions. Yet, technological power also raises new ethical questions. A tag weighing a few grams, a light scope, or a tiny sensor can still increase biological cost, slowing flight, altering diving behavior, or affecting circadian rhythm. Good practice requires strict limits on weight, smooth shapes, rapid deployment, and automatic release, ensuring that collected data accurately reflects natural behavior while minimizing impact on the organism. In captivity, aquaria, pools, or recovery areas must also be large enough, truly dark at night, and closely replicate natural conditions so that sleep returns to its natural state instead of reacting to an artificial world. These reforms are not only practical but philosophical. Cephalopods and decapods are now recognized as sentient in many legal jurisdictions, setting new welfare standards and emphasizing that sleep research must respect the animal's natural rights. The general principle is to fine-tune methods until animals can sleep as they wish, from darkness, stable light, to safe hiding places. Only when sleep is protected can we truly listen to the story of the brain, understand how organisms balance rest and vigilance, and discover the subtle beauty of a world largely unseen by humans. In retrospect, sleep is not merely a state of rest. It is a dialogue between organism and environment, between physiology and behavior, between science and ethics. In every heartbeat, every brainwave, every pigment movement, we see clearly that rest, seemingly simple, is a delicate miracle sustaining life and evolutionary intelligence. By observing, understanding, and respecting it, we not only learn about sleep, but also learn how to listen to and accompany the natural world. As night spreads across different landscapes, sleep is not merely a physiological state, but a rhythm connecting all life to the planet. In the rainforest, sounds gradually subside like a soft background music, the rustling of insects, leaves swaying, and occasionally the steady breathing of monkeys curled up on branches. Owls lower their heads, keeping one eye open, alert yet resting. Bats glide through the shadows, avoiding the sun that has set, allowing their bodies to regulate their own circadian rhythms. Each species finds its own way to balance vigilance and rest, like penguins slowly shifting their eggs, or fennec foxes curling up in shallow pools where warm earth meets starlight. Their sleep is not merely rest, it is a survival strategy, a method of conserving energy and protecting memory. In vast desert regions, the rules of night become harsher. Diurnal lizards hide in crevices to escape the piercing cold, while rodents move quickly between seed caches to forage while avoiding predation. Even plants participate in this rhythm. Some species close their flowers at night to protect stamens and pollen, while others open, enabling nocturnal pollinators to operate. Every organism, whether tiny or massive, follows a shared rhythm that is individualized, ensuring energy balance, physiological protection, and maintenance of the ecological flow. In the deep sea, this rhythm manifests differently. Whales drift slowly, octopuses hide in crevices, small fish hover in the water column, all finding positions and postures to rest without losing vigilance. Sleep is not entirely dictated by darkness or light. It is a subtle adjustment based on tides, water temperature, and the presence of predators. Every marine organism, from dolphins engaging in unihemispheric sleep to parrotfish following their own circadian rhythms, participates in a delicate symphony where sleep is the link between physiology, behavior, and environment. Observing this panorama, we realize that sleep is not a separation, but an essential part of the ecosystem. Protecting the sleep of species means protecting habitats, maintaining ecological rhythms, and ensuring that the delicate nocturnal harmonies continue to resonate, from rainforests and deserts to the deepest ocean floors. As a result, each morning, the world functions smoothly, species continue their life cycles, and sleep becomes a bridge between physiology and ecology, between us and nature.